My second rule of engagement is really short, but not simple. Reality at all costs. Over the past 10 years, unreality has become a reality for a lot of people. There are countless people in our society on all points of the political spectrum that cannot tell the difference between fake news and real news, that don't have the tools to distinguish between a conspiracy theory and a complex cause and effect relationship. Bad faith social media influencers and podcasters can just spread lies and nonsense and misinformation and get followers and likes and respect and money for it. If all goes according to Trump's plan, Robert F. Kennedy, who is a known conspiracy theorist who has peddled easily refutable lies about vaccines and fluoride in the water, etc., is about to be our head of Health and Human Services. And I think that's just one of many data points demonstrating that in the era of, digital everything and screens everywhere and social media all over the place, we as a human race, not just we as Americans, we as a human race are increasingly having a hard time distinguishing reality from unreality. It almost feels like at times we're entering like a new dark age where just utter nonsense is peddled as good information. So what does then a recommitment to reality of all costs look like? Well, I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll just share a few. First, it means kind of committing to just critical thinking. When a podcast host or a YouTuber says something, don't just believe them, even if it's someone you trust. Actually, especially if it's someone you trust. Be critical, ask questions like, where is this information coming from? Is the way that this person is putting together the information to tell a story, does it actually make sense? Know how to look for things like cherry picking and logical fallacies. Look for sources of information that include the perspectives of educated experts, not just people who went to law school and were trained how to defend an argument, whether it was a good argument or not. I think the expertise point is really important. There is a deep anti-intellectual tradition in America. This is something that historians I've written about. I'm not just making this up. It's like a documented phenomena. Americans love to distrust authority. And while sometimes that distrust of authority is really good, at other times it leads to people believing in conspiracy theories and listening to people who legitimately don't know what they're talking about. So again, just because some YouTuber has a bachelor's in political science they got 30 years ago does not mean they're qualified to talk about any and every subject under the sun. So let me give you a specific example. There are people who want to clean up our history books, things like the horrors of slavery, the oppression of women, the near extermination of and theft of land from the indigenous inhabitants of North America. Now, I am a, trained historian, and I think one of the reasons why I was put on this earth is to tell people the truth about American history. It is a fact that the American system of racialized slavery institutionalized abuse and rape and violence and degradation and the destruction of families. Those are historical facts. And as a great man once said, facts don't care about your feelings. I'm just playing. Now, sure, we can have a debate over how to present those facts, how to shape them in a larger narrative of American history. And over the past 4 years in particular, all over the country, there have been state legislatures and state boards of education that have come to be dominated by people who, to be really blunt, don't want white people to feel bad about the past. Honestly, when I teach, I tell my students no one should feel bad about the past, but we should all feel responsible to know what happened and to understand how what happened in the past still shapes us today. And I can promise you, as someone who has studied this in a professional academic setting, racialized slavery still shapes our lives every day. And an honest accounting of history is going to hold to that and say, no, this is not an opinion, this is a fact. Here is the data backing it up. In this era in which disinformation and misinformation has become so common, I want to make facts sexy and cool and countercultural again. I really want to see particularly more Gen Zs and Alphas looking at, the older generations and seeing the craziness they're doing, the QAnon and the Stop the Steal and all this other stuff that is not based in reality at all. And I really hope more people do the hard work of self-reflection and self-analysis. How do I think about things? How do I process information? Where's my data coming from? How do I know this data is good? Am I just going with what I feel, or am I actually contemplating this and thinking about it deeply and talking about it with others? So Gen Z, Gen Alpha, if you're watching, please, reality at all costs. Maybe you can show us a better way, because the older generations have kind of already lost that battle.